If you have or suspect you may have a health problem, or if you require answers to specific healthcare questions or concerns, you should consult your physician or healthcare provider and not depend solely on information presented in this program.
Coming up today on To Your Health, the secrets to aging gracefully and joyfully. And no, we won't be talking about Botox or plastic surgery. This is about healthy aging, planning for independence, and celebrating life with humor, because sometimes you just gotta laugh. Today, we have some special guests joining us, including the commissioner of the New York City's Department for the Aging, Dr. Donna Corrado, and comedy writer of Seinfeld and Cheers, Tom Leopold. That's all coming up next on To Your Health. We're talking today about aging gracefully. To do that, we need to take good care of ourselves. But at some point, we might need a little help. Perhaps some of us are taking care of aging parents, relatives, friends, neighbors, or maybe we're the ones being taken care of. Growing older is not always easy, but it's important to remember that it's a privilege and something to be grateful for. Today, we're joined by Deacon Bill Kelly from St. Athanasius Bensonhurst, who has some pearls of wisdom to share. Bill was a caregiver to his mother and father-in-law. He's also been a social worker for 36 years, 29 of which have been at Seacrest Nursing and Rehabilitation Center in Brooklyn. Thanks so much for being here, Bill.
Thank you for having me.
So what inspired you to become a social worker?
I had always wanted to be able to help people, and social work is a profession in which one can take of themselves and help others to adjust in various aspects of their life.
And you've been working with the elderly for decades now. So what do you think you've learned about aging, the good and the bad?
Well, the good is aging is a good thing because the alternative is not a good thing. So what I've learned in my years in the nursing home is just how people have been able to age and the stories that they tell and how it is important that the aged are able to pass their stories on to the next generation so that we can learn from how people lived.
Mm-hmm. So you think it's important as we age to respect the aging process, respect our elders, and actually learn from them because they have stories to share, wisdom to share.
Oh, sure. I mean, when I first got into the profession, I wasn't so much sure about it, but in my years at the nursing home and many of the people who live there long term, you get to learn who they are, learn about their lives, and really, hear how we ourselves can learn from what happened.
Now, you have taken care of your elderly parents and your in-laws. What was that experience like for you?
My mother was a person who was very independent. She had lived on her own all her life. As she got older, she had problems with going into heart failure and stayed alone, but many a time would call me late at night to come and get her to the hospital.
That's stressful.
It was, because the calls usually came at 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And the funny thing was she would apologize to me for bothering me when I get there when she was hardly breathing.
So if you are someone who has elderly parents or maybe elderly in-laws and you're beginning to get ready to take care of them, what kind of advice would you give to people who are getting ready to take care of their elderly parents or in-laws?
Well, first you need to be able to respect their independence as much as possible. Because the one thing that happens when one gets older is many times people try to take over control for those people. And as you get older, if all of a sudden they take away all of your independence, your dignity, you feel like you're being treated like a child. So the important thing is try to remember that these are still your parents and they need to be treated with respect and that they should have input in what's going to happen with them with their lives.
So asking them what they want and not just coming in and bulldozing and saying, Mom, Dad, this is what we're doing. This is the new normal. I'm taking care of you. This is your schedule, but actually eliciting their input.
Yes. I mean, many times that's what I've seen happen is that the children come in and say, yes, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then all of a sudden, the parent goes, hi, I'm still here. I have my marbles. Why are you doing this to me? And then it causes great stress and conflict within the family.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we live in a culture, as you know, Bill, that is so dismissive of aging and so obsessed with youth. How do you sort of wrap your head around that and do the work that you do? I mean, do you fear growing older?
No, I don't. Being in a nursing home setting, Many of the staff are much younger than I am, and they look at me as like the wise old man. But I look and say, look, I have gotten this far. And I think we need to be able to look at ourselves and say, when we look at people who live to be their 80s or 90s or even over 100 years of age, and we have residents in our nursing home who are over 100 and still have their marbles, still have the ability to talk about how they want things happen for themselves. So I think it's something that we need to strive for and not to be afraid of.
And what would you say to people who want to age gracefully? Because you have so much experience with the elderly.
Well, I would say, one, embrace it. Do not be afraid of it.
You can't do anything to change it.
That's correct. And you need to be able to though, hold on to who you are and not try to be something different or try to change who you are.
Be true to who you are. Yeah, I read a study once by a woman from Australia, and I think she was a hospice nurse, and she was doing a study with people who were about to die, and she was interviewing them, and she asked them, what are your top regrets? What are your top 5 or 6 regrets? And the number one regret of all of these people, or most of these people, was that they hadn't lived the life that they felt that they were meant to live. They were living the life that somebody else wanted them to live, not the life of their dreams. And I think that is something that, if we follow our own dreams and stay true to ourselves, that can help us live more gracefully and age more gracefully over the years.
No, that's 100% true.
Do you think so?
Yeah, because so many people, you're right, they try to maybe please somebody else. In terms of someone who might marry, they try to please their spouse or please their children. And then if you don't do and live the life that you want to be, you will then have your regrets.
And what kinds of regrets do you hear people talk about?
Oh, I mean, they're regrets about doing more of their life.
I wish I'd traveled more.
Traveling more.
Wish I hadn't worked so hard.
Yes, this is true. Why did I work so many years? I mean, some people have worked into their 70s and beyond, and then say, why did I work so long? And then all of a sudden, either they or their spouse become sick, and those dreams that they wanted to take to travel end up going out the window.
My mother has multiple sclerosis, and she always said, oh, when I get older, I'm going to go to Scotland, and I'm going to go to Paris, and I'm going to go to... And she developed MS in her late 50s, and she was never able to do any of those things because she kept putting it off, and she was going to do it someday.
Right.
Caregiving is a really, really tough job and very, very stressful. What kinds of resources are available to people who are caretaking for elderly parents and feel like they're just in it all by themselves? Where can they turn?
Well, within our own very diocese, Catholic Charities has a number of resources for dealing with aged parents and aging in general. So, I mean, if you go to their website and look at it and look at the numbers, there are plenty of areas in which they can help with caregivers or senior centers for people to go to, so that there are resources within our own diocese to help people.
So you work with elderly people all the time, and you have for years. What kind of role do you think faith plays in the aging process?
Well, I think when I see with my nursing home residents, having faith in God helps them be able to move on with their lives and to be able to know that there is somebody there for them to help them and to guide them with all that they do.
And maybe to accept the changes that they're undergoing.
Oh, without a doubt, because it is not an easy thing at all.
I want to thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
When we come back, we're going to talk with New York City Commissioner of the Department for the Aging, Dr. Donna Corrado, about some of the great resources and support available to the city's older residents. Welcome back. This is To Your Health, and today we're talking about aging gracefully. Getting older isn't easy, and the older we get, the more support we need. We're joined by Dr. Donna Corrado, the Commissioner of the New York City Department for the Aging. Dr. Corrado, it's so good to have you with us.
It's nice to be here. Thank you, Portland.
So, can you give me some of the latest statistics on the elderly in New York City?
Sure. As you know, in New York City, it's a very diverse population, and we currently have 1.4 million older adults living in New York City, and that's soon to be, within the next several decades, up to 1.8 million.
And when you say older, do you mean over 65?
Over the age of 60.
Over the age of 60.
Yes, we start young now.
And what is the mission?
The mission of the New York City Department for the Agency is actually a mayoral agency as well as an area agency on aging that was established by the federal government in 1965 vis-a-vis the Older Americans Act of 1965. But it's New York City's agency that deals with older New Yorkers. So we provide support services, and our mission is to combat ageism and to provide services to older adults and their family caregivers through advocacy and training and policy, and actually providing direct services, and with a whole consortium of service providers throughout all 5 boroughs, we serve senior citizens.
Can you give some examples of the specific services that you provide?
Sure. One of the major aspects of the Department for the Aging is that we operate 256 senior centers. There's senior centers in every neighborhood throughout the 5 boroughs, as well as NORCs, which are naturally occurring retirement communities. We have 28 of those programs as well. And we provide services directly. We have an elder abuse center. We have an Alzheimer's resource center. We have a volunteer resource center, employment programs for persons over the age of 55 who are trying to get back into the workforce, and that's some vocational training and employment. We have grandparent resource centers and a variety of services. It's pretty much everything. It runs the gamut that any senior could need, with the intention of keeping them in the community, improving the quality of their lives, and living out their older years in dignity.
Do you think that most or many older adults these days want to live at home longer?
Absolutely. Not live at home longer. It's all about what we call aging in place, and aging where they essentially want to age, and wherever that choice is. It's certainly no longer even a desire, if it ever was, to go into a nursing home or institutional care. But there's no reason now, pretty much, why anyone needs to go into an institution. It's all about providing those services and supports in the community so people can live there essentially forever, as long as they want to.
So what are some of the greatest needs among the elderly?
Well, there's many needs, and as you know, as the population ages and more people are living over the age of 85, for example, we have more and more needs for services around people that have Alzheimer's and related dementia. So that's a problem that it's currently a problem, as long as they don't solve that. And you know, there's a lot of research going on, fortunately, about finding a cure for Alzheimer's. But in the interim, we're going to see a greater need for supports and respite and services for family caregivers. So that's an important need. But in New York City specifically, and this has been for a number of years now, the greatest need really is affordable housing. So it's for senior housing specifically, but affordable housing in general. So this administration is really taking that seriously. And with the mayor's affordable housing plan to build 200 or preserve or develop 200,000 units of affordable housing is something that naturally the New York City Department of the Aging is very interested in, and we are doing everything that we can to make sure that those units are set aside for seniors as well. So they are included in that plan, and currently there's 5,000 units set aside for seniors, and with those 200,000, they're open to seniors as well. So we just cannot build enough senior housing in this city. It's such a great need.
Because we're living so much longer than we did years ago.
Well, you couple that, the demographics alone, and you couple that with what it costs to live in New York City, and then you're really, that's a recipe for disaster. So we need to build more and more senior housing, and seniors live on a fixed income. So it's difficult for the average New Yorker to afford to live in New York City, and you couple that with a fixed income, with a very diverse population, and many low-income seniors, unfortunately, live in New York City. The cost of living is very high, and even though the average poverty rate in the nation as a whole has gone down to around 16%, in New York City it's much higher because the cost of living is so much higher. So it's around 19-20%.
Now, you mentioned caregivers earlier. What kind of support do you provide for caregivers through the Department for the Aging?
So the Department for the Aging has a caregiver program in each borough. And those programs provide things like respite, or they provide vouchers so that families can go out and get some respite care. And what's respite care? It may be a social adult day center. It may be a home attendant for a few hours a day so that the caregiver can actually get some respite or do what it is they need to do. Go shopping, for example. They can drop their loved one off at a day center for a few hours. In addition to support groups, and most importantly, advice from professionals about what it takes to care for a person who has a progressive illness. And at different stages, they need different tools in order to cope better. But the most important thing is when we do caregiver services, we encourage and we support caregivers to take care of themselves, because that really is the biggest need. It is so stressful to be a caregiver. And if they don't take care of themselves,
They can't take care of
of
their loved
anyone.
one.
There
Yeah.
you go. So it's an important need, and it's a need that we know is only going to continue to grow. And it's something we're doing a borough-wide survey now with funding that we got from New York City Council, that then we'll be able to really develop a better blueprint on how to support caregivers. But it's something we've been doing all along, and we just need to do more of.
Now, I know that you have a long career of service. You worked for many years with Catholic Charities.
I did.
Do you have any pearls of wisdom on how, like, about serving the elderly?
Well, in my career, Catholic Charities pretty much worked with every population. But working with seniors specifically has been very rewarding. And it's not the sexiest population to work with for people and who are getting out of school and trying to enter the human service field. But in my experience, every person that has come on board, worked with seniors, after a while, time and time again, they'll say, how could they work with any other population? Because it is quite rewarding. And it's a field, and I'm going to just put in a plug, because we need really good geriatric social workers and therapists and caseworkers, that it's a field that's wide open.
And growing.
And there's many, many opportunities. So it's a terrific career path. So if you're thinking about where you'd like to work, we'd love to have you. We need talent. And certainly there's tremendous opportunity for people in this field.
Thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
You know, they say laughter is the best medicine. Now, humor can't stop your skin from sagging, but it can keep you young at heart. When we come back, comedy writer of the TV hits Cheers and Seinfeld, Tom Leopold, will be joining us to share his take on laughter as the fountain of youth. Welcome back. This is To Your Health. Getting old is no joke, unless you're sitting next to Tom Leopold. Tom's a TV comedy writer, performer, and novelist who's most known for his work on Cheers and Seinfeld. He's worked with legends like Bob Hope, Steve Allen, Chevy Chase, Billy Crystal, Christopher Guest, Ellen DeGeneres, and many more. Welcome to the show, Tom.
I had no idea I had such a career.
Yeah.
What am I doing here? No, it's great. I'm glad to be here.
So,
Yes.
aging. I feel like we should start with a joke, but I don't want to
See,
put pressure on you.
I was told this is about agents.
No, it's
Because
about
obviously
aging.
I'm the wrong guy to be on an aging show.
Oh, no, it's about aging.
Okay.
And I don't want to
I'm not
put that-
ashamed.
But, you're a comedy writer, so can you give us a joke about aging?
Here's my favorite joke about aging. Old man calls his doctor. Says, "Doctor, I don't know what it is. I can't pee." I can say pee on the show, right?
You can.
Okay. But I can't pee on the show.
No.
No. Okay, good, thank you. I said, "I can't pee." The old man said, "Well, Mr. Robinson, how old are you now?" He was 96. And the doctor says, "You peed enough." That's my favorite.
Okay, good. So as we get older, obviously, not to be a downer, but it is hard. Our bodies change.
Yeah.
We're aware of our own mortality.
Boy, I'm depressed now.
I know, but
No.
we still have to remain lighthearted. Laughter really is important. Can you talk about why laughter is important as we age?
Oh, boy. It probably has something to do with not being in grief for your life. You know what I mean? As you get older and you've lived semi-well enough and you're, walked somewhat the straight and narrow, you can go back and look, oh, man, it wasn't so bad, and you kind of feel, then you can kind of feel like, well, I'm entitled to not take things so serious. I sort of did everything not well, but I did a lot, well, as well as I could, right?
How do you feel about aging?
I think it's really interesting.
You think aging is interesting?
Yes, yeah. I do think it's interesting.
Do you dread it, or do you look forward to your later years?
I've absolutely solved the thing about how to handle it, which is just stay thin and get good clothes, because that's all you can control, really.
Really?
Yeah.
What you put in your mouth
you can't
and how
control
you dress.
any other thing, as my joke probably tells you that.
No, but really, do you fear it?
I don't, yes, I don't like it, but I don't fear it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You're at peace with the fact that your body's changing, and as long as you're happy.
Why? What have you noticed since we've been on, or do you mean no?
Go on.
I don't seem to mind it as much as, I'll tell you what, I was the most vain person in the whole world. And I thought, God, when I do start to fall apart, wouldn't be able to handle it. Now I don't. It's funny how I think maybe
Because you already have.
I have fallen apart. But also I think there must be something in the brain that goes too, like there's a built-in thing there that helps you handle it unless you're sick or something.
More accepting.
Yeah, like, hey, this is it.
Right.
Take it
I
or
am
leave
who
it.
I am
Yeah.
after a certain
Right.
number. Yeah.
Right.
So I know that
It's like I'm sorry, I was going to just say that, who was it? David Bowie said, old age is when you become the guy you should have been all along.
Ah,
You know?
that's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Why did I quote him? It could have been like my quote.
So you actually grew up Jewish, but you converted to
Yes.
Catholicism during a difficult period in your life.
Right.
And I'm wondering how your faith has affected your perception of aging. Has it?
Yes, it has, but I never thought about it before.
But
Why
you're
didn't you
thinking
send
about
me
it
that
now.
question? So I could have an answer. No. Yes, because I don't think this is the end, and I don't think that I'm in that much control anyway,
Yeah.
and that's great.
But did you think that before? I mean, when you were
No.
Jewish, did you
Did
you think that there was an
Now I'm worried
end?
about two sets of things.
Yeah.
When I was, I had the Jewish guilt, and now I have Catholic guilt. So I just really don't get out of bed. Thursdays I don't get out of bed at all, actually. But that's another show.
Can you give an example of, I feel like I don't want to put pressure on you, but can you give an example
Please put pressure on.
of something funny that's happened to you and where you've actually laughed at our bodies change, our minds change as we age. Have you ever laughed at at an encounter when you're recognizing that your body's changing or that your mind's changing or you're not quite as quick as you used to be? Has it ever made you laugh? Is there an encounter that you can think of?
God, most of it does. I mean, having written comedy for about 50 years, it's hard to turn that thing off. So even if you're miserable, you're thinking, well, how is this funny? You kind of yeah. And then people think you're joking when you don't care. Like, look at that. He's old and he doesn't even mind it. How brave he must be. In fact, you're just lazy and tired of caring so much about yourself. It's freeing,
Yeah. So what would you say to people who are maybe scared of the aging process? What would you say to help them face or embrace it more?
You can't do anything about it, but try to look as good as you can.
It's all about how you look. That's your message?
Of course, hasn't it always been? I think that fun comes in chunks, like it always did. It's never like in the movies where everything works out, then it's fun the rest of your life, at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And so, you can't fight feeling lousy about it sometimes because you look in and you're the elephant man. I mean, sometimes I look in the mirror and I go, how did I get to be the elephant man? Suddenly not that I was ever that great.
No, you
well,
don't like
thank
the
you. I
elephant
wasn't
man.
begging
No.
for compliments.
No.
But what have you got?
Well,
No. What do you got that's fresh?
no, but it sounds like you're saying, enjoy your life
Yeah,
while
but
you
also
can.
part of enjoying it is not minding those moments when you just hate it. Because, why any sane person wouldn't enjoy it, I have no buttocks. Nobody likes that. My wife said, you get your pants so baggy, but it wasn't baggy. It's just that I have no buttocks. And
what we
also,
have to look forward to.
this is when you know you're getting old.
Uh-huh.
Now, every year I sit, my pants are higher.
Is that right?
It's true. When I was young, my pants stopped here when I sat down. Now they're about here. And when they get here, you know, it's when your pants get here, and also when you get one of those tubs that have a door in it. That's when I know I'm Catholic. I can't kill myself, but I'm going to be very close. They'll hide the medication when, honey, we got a new tub for you. Then you got to sit there while the whole water goes out. And you can't open the door and get out like you can. I'm sorry. I'm doing a plumbing show later.
So it seems to me that, but like your humor, that's a gift. That's a gift.
It is a gift.
To be able to see the humor in life's absurdities.
My dad and mom were very much like that. It's a very Jewish thing, of course, because you gotta, because, you know, you being, you know, the pogroms. You got to turn the program into a program. I just came up with that. No, but I mean, that's very much part of it. My dad, something would happen, and then we'd laugh about it for days. But at the moment, it's my dad yelling, Brooklyn yelling. Like when my dad would get mad, he had a whole other language and voice. Yeah, get over here, yous. You know, he didn't talk like that. And then we'd laugh about it. And and they could laugh at themselves. And if you could laugh at yourself in the writing, in comedy writing, it's funny how the most specific thing about a person, most little detail can be the most universal thing.
Yes.
So that's why other people laugh. It's like, you know, my father once found out that my cousin, who wanted to be an artist, charged my mother for a portrait. And it just painted my mother all blue. You know? And my dad said, how much did you pay David for that? $25. This is like 1963, right? $25. He took the painting and smashed it over his head. And we're all going like, you know? And it became, of course, one of the funniest things.
Well, it sounds like your message to
and
all
he
of us
became one of the great painters of all time.
Is that right?
We were out millions of dollars. No.
So your message, Tom, is stay thin, dress well, and laugh.
Right. And I was just rereading Bob Dylan's book, and he talks about his father and a quote his father said. And when I came up to that, I thought, what could Bob Dylan's father, what must he have been like, right? And the quote was, Bob, in this life, you may not get everything you want, but be happy for all the things you didn't get that you didn't want. And I thought that's pretty, you know,
great.
you got, okay, you got this on the ledger and that, and if you got somewhere near even, or, you
Pretty
know,
good.
then yeah, what's the beef, you know?
It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Really?
Great fun.
Really?
Yes.
Pleasure talking to you. Thank you, Portland. Thanks for having me on.
That is our show for today. So remember what Tom says, laugh, get the support you need, it's out there, and know that you're not alone in life. Life is good. Till next time, here's to your health.